from my pride. Some say I'm still a kid, but they know I'm not a child. It's tragic, it's a little sad, but what happens at this moment make or break the man. It's time for a celebration, it's time for a reckoning, it's time for a conversation with friends I've lost along the way. It's time to turn a new leaf over, it's time to make a change, it's time to make time for the ones who cared for me. Oh, it's better to be lonely than to be alone. And sometimes the fight's worth fighting, even if it's not your own. Tell me about your revolution, I'll tell you about my resolution. Together we might get this world to change today. Jumping through the fire, you're bound to get burned, but it's better to have fought that while than to say you never learn. Oh, tomorrow's always coming, and the past is come and gone. The future's out there waiting, so we better keep on keeping on. Oh, it's better to be lonely than to be alone. And sometimes the fight's worth fighting, even if it's not your own. Tell me about your revolution, I'll tell you about my resolution. Together we might get this world to change today. There's nothing we can do, it all comes down to me and you. We'll never let this world go down in flames. Oh, it's better to be lonely than to be alone. And sometimes the fight's worth fighting, even if it's not your own. Tell me about your revolution, I'll tell you about my resolution. Together we might get this world to change today. Butterfly, emerge from your cocoon and fly away. Remember me while you discover your new life. Tie, tie, butterfly. To see you in this light really shows your age, the wisdom.
You're listening to the Jams and Coffee Morning Show with your host, Brad Brock.
Well, good morning, jammers, and welcome to the Jams and Coffee Morning Show over on YouTube, Facebook, or if you're listening in over on JNC Radio via the LIVE365 app, all, of course, across the Jams and Cocktails podcast network. My name's Brad, and I'll be your host this morning. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope everybody enjoyed their Monday. You got right into your week. It was nice for everybody. For me, it was pretty good. I did a lot of. Mondays are always my big catch-up days. I always have to catch up on everything that I've neglected over the weekend by working. In fact, yeah. Jordan says, "Get out of the mustard and catch up." A joke that I use all the time. But yeah, Tuesday I would suppose is probably my favorite day of the week because it's a day where Monday I've usually taken care of most of the things that I needed to take care of, and Tuesday I get to do the show with all of you, and then I get to kind of relax just a little bit. I don't know how much relaxing I do normally, but yeah, I would say that Tuesday is probably my most relaxing day, unless, of course, I have, a gig or something like that. But I do not have a gig this week. Next week, though, it's like a stacked week. I don't even know how it happened, but I don't have a single day off for the entire week. I have to have a word with my boss, I think. Listen, you guys, it's about to get cool here in Florida. We are about to experience some temperatures and weather that we've not seen in nearly 6 months. But it's not quite here yet. No. We got to deal with some storms first. So here's the weather here on the Treasure Coast. This morning, the temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 70s and the mid to upper 70s for the Palm Beaches under mostly cloudy skies. You wouldn't know that right now looking out the window, but I'm sure it's going to cloud up just a little bit. This afternoon, the highs are going to be in the upper 80s with another round of afternoon and evening showers and storms. We're not under a severe weather threat today, but still could see some strong storms. Yesterday was freaky. We're totally sitting here expecting to be some astronomical, categorically devastating storm last night, and it barely rained here in Port St. Lucie. But boy, in Indian River County, man, I think they had a tornado touchdown. It was pretty gnarly up there. Well, they're saying we might see some storms today rolling through. Tomorrow, the morning lows are going to be in the low to mid 60s. The beginning cracking into that cold front coming through, and the afternoon highs are going to be in the low to mid 70s. A nice cooling off period here. Some showers and clouds to start, then drying out through the afternoon, and the humidity is going to drop as well. So we're going to really feel that fall weather, at least on Florida terms. Philip chiming in with his JNC irrelevant weather report. He said up in Tennessee, it's a cold start of the day with a freeze warning for all of Middle Tennessee. The temps are around 28 to 32 degrees in outlying areas and a mid-30 in the cities. He said the high today is only going to get into the low 50s and then freezing again tonight and then warming up for the rest of the week. He said it'll be back in the 80s by the weekend. That's because we're getting that front. By the weekend, we'll be in our chilly place. So there's no rain in the forecast, though, for the next 5 to 7 days, so still very dry there. He said the lakes and the waterways are at a record low, and the mighty Mississippi is even at a record level low again. I know I was just reading an article when I was perusing the news today about there's some problems. They're actually talking about, in fact, putting up some sort of dam to keep the salt water from getting into the Mississippi and contaminating the drinking water. I read that today. Hopefully they get that figured out. Yeah, man. Well, thank you, Philip, for chiming in and joining. As always, I appreciate you, my friend. We do have just a few national days today. I'll knock them out early this time. as opposed to the end of the show yesterday. Let's see. It's National Chocolate Cupcake Day, my favorite. It's observed on October 18th annually. It celebrates the sweetness of small chocolate cakes with a dollop of frosting. One sweet serving satisfies chocolate and cake lovers. Cupcakes throughout history have also been called fairy cakes, patty cakes. Patty cake, baker man. Yeah. Cupcakes. Different from cupcakes, which is one word. How do you spell cupcakes? I don't know. I think I've always separated them, to be honest with you. At any rate, cupcakes can be traced back to 1796, when a recipe notion of a cake to be baked in small cups was written in American Cookery by Amelia Simmons. The earliest known documentation of the term cupcake was in 1828. 75 recipes for pastry, cakes, and sweetmeats in Eliza Leslie's recipe cookbook. There you go, cupcakes. National Chocolate Cupcake Day. Gives me an excuse. It's also National Exascale Day. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you. It celebrates the scientists and researchers who make breakthrough discoveries in medicine, materials science, energy, and beyond with the help of the fastest supercomputers in the world. Yes. We like to say that National Exascale Day celebrates those who keep asking what if, why not, and what's next. The advanced technology to attain those answers. This era in technology will have a profound impact on nearly every aspect of our daily lives. It will impact everything from healthcare and manufacturing to understanding new energy sources and the origins of the universe. First. Exascale is defined as a quintillion computations per second. For perspective, of all 7.7 billion people on Earth, each completed one calculation per second, it would take over 4 years. An exascale computer can compute a quintillion computations in 1 second. Woo! They're going to take over, folks. Computers are coming. You heard it here first. All right. What else is on the list? Philip said the Mississippi may run backwards again like it did once when the earthquake happened that created the Reelfoot Lake. Going back to the Mississippi River. That's wild, man. Need some rain up there. A national day I might not be able to get behind. It's National No Beard Day. Annually, National No Beard Day on October 18th celebrates the clean-shaven among us. The smoother the phase, the bigger the celebration. Whether you've had your beard for years or it's relatively new to you, this is the day to shave it off and go smooth. Perhaps your partner doesn't like your beard, or you just haven't shaved it off for years. Well, No Beard Day is the day to see what you look like without it. And the answer is a weirdo. That's what that is. You look just like a weirdo. If you've had your beard for years and you shave it off, there's no way around it. You're going to look like a crazy person. I finally remember a story working on a cruise ship, and my duo partner, her name was Janice, and we were inseparable. She was my best friend on the ship and remains one of my best friends to this day. And I had just on a whim decided to go ahead and shave my beard completely off, shave it clean. And I was just walking through the halls, and she walked right past me. And then a dead stop, and she spun around, and she's like, wait a minute. Yep, I look like a complete weirdo with no beard of any kind. Although it's getting nice and white, I'm going to be quite Santa Clausy by the end of this old road we call life. I still look wild without any kind of beard hair. So I can't partake. But they say that achieving a close, kissable shave is a lost art that faded with a generation that had the first color televisions installed. Consider investing in the tools your grandfather or possibly your great-grandfather used. Either a safety razor or a straight razor will give you the closest shave, along with a natural bristle shaving brush and shaving soap. More care and time may be required, but the results are well worth the effort. Or you could go out to a barber shop. You don't have to buy any of these things, and they'll do it for you. And then you get to have the conversation of a good barber. Pam said, Philip, no. I don't know if she's all about it, Philip. I think she likes that beard on you. Let's see, what else we got going on? National Pharmacy Tech Day. The third Tuesday in October recognizes National Pharmacy Technician Day. The day is an opportunity to thank technicians for their invaluable support and contributions throughout the year. However, the day also explores the technician's role and how vital it is to maintain a safe and efficient health system. So give your pharmacy tech a high five today. Are we still allowed to do that post-COVID? Fist bump? An exaggerated wink, perhaps? Either way, make sure you tell them that they're doing a good job. Pam says she's never seen Philip without a beard. Only pictures of his younger years. Yeah, it's funny, man. This may be the day. Pam, it's important to know what's lurking under there. You know, you have to have a full gamut spectrum view of this man that you're spending your life with. Philip says he has memories of the barbershop growing up, watching them lather up the brush and do the shaves on the older guys. See? We're the older guys now, Philip. It's time to go into the barbershop and get a nice hot shave. I did have it done on cruise ships because we had perks to be able to go to the barbershop and do all that, and it was lovely. But I don't know, man. I can't. I mean, I need to like trim up here. I have some like stubble going on, but I don't know. I'm a beard guy. What can I say? I've had one since I was in. I've had one since I was in like middle school, I believe. As wispy as it was back then, but now it was much darker. This beard was much darker just 5 years ago, I'd say. The last 5 years have been rough on my aging process. I've jumped 25 years in 5 years. That's all right. I'll take it. Mike LeBeck tuning in. I'm rocking my LeBeck swag today. I appreciate that again, my friend. Thank you for sending that awesome swag box. Got some cool stuff in there, and this cool shirt I decided to rock this morning. Pam says, "Stop it." Oh yeah, Pam, I don't make anybody do anything. I just make suggestions. I just read the news. Philip is a grown-up, and he'll do what he wants to do. All right, let's get into some news here. Important one. I picked this story out for Jordan because I know she's driving right now and hopefully listening. But this headline is that Selma Blair will not continue competing on this season's Dancing with the Stars due to health concerns. The actress, she said in a statement on Monday night. I know that Jordan was excited to see her out there. Everybody's excited to see Selma Blair when she's out in public. You know, for a very long time, she's been dealing with multiple sclerosis, and it's really caused her to not be in public very often because it's unpredictable. So it was a big deal for her to commit to doing Dancing with the Stars. And I remember Jordan saying that she was very impressed. But she will not be continuing. Blair, who first shared she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis back in 2018, has competed strongly in the series over the past 5 weeks. Her body, however, quote, has taken a hit. She said, I've been monitored, I had MRIs, and the results came back, and it all adds up to I can't go on with the competition. She revealed to her dance partner, Sasha Farber, in a taped piece that aired Monday night on the show. She said, I pushed as far as I could, and with a chronic illness, you have to have special considerations, and my body has taken a hit. It's way too much for my safety of my bones. For the safety of my bones, I could do extensive damage that, of course, I don't want. She continued. Blair completed a final waltz dance with Farber to What the World Needs Now is Love. This is a dance for everyone that has tried and hoped they could do more, but also the power in realizing it's time to walk away. I'm so, so grateful to be able to do one last gentle dance, Blair said. Actress Sarah Michelle Gellar, who co-starred with Blair in the movie Cruel Intentions, shared a photo of her and Blair on her Instagram account after the announcement, captioning it with a helpful, heartfelt message expressing gratitude and appreciation for their friendship. She said, Selma, I've never been so proud of you, and I'm often proud of you. You make the rest of us believe we can do anything, that we can never give up, she wrote. I will miss getting to watch the happiness radiate from Selma each week as she stepped on that stage. Multiple sclerosis, known as MS, is an autoimmune disease. It impacts the brain and spinal cord that disrupts communication between the brain and other parts of the body. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, its exact cause is unknown. Blair shared her experience with the illness in the documentary Introducing Selma Blair, which premiered in select theaters over the weekend. The film shows the actress undergoing stem cell treatment, including chemotherapy, revealing the toll the treatment has had on Blair's body. So you check out that documentary. I'm sure will be coming to some streaming services soon, and I wish her the best. That's it took a lot of courage to get out there and because some of those dances are not easy. Professional dancers have a hard time getting through some of those routines, and Selma, while is a dancer with an illness like she has, a chronic illness, it took a lot of courage to get out there and do those routines. So we wish her the best. I wanted to get that story before Jordan made it to work, because I thought she'd think that was interesting. We got some local news here. Getting back to the weather just a little bit. Paul, thank you for joining us this morning. It's not Brad's dance, so there will be no dancing from here. While Selma Blair has the courage to get up and dance on Dancing with the Stars, I have no courage whatsoever. Courage free. As mentioned earlier in the weather report, get ready for some cooler weather. The first strong cold front of the season is expected to make its way through Florida this week, bringing some of the coldest temperatures of the season. Ahead of the front could be a few strong storms, including the one that spawned a tornado last night in Indian River County. Tornado touched down in southeast Indian River County in the Midway Estates community. Several mobile homes were damaged, but no injuries were reported, thank goodness. That's according to the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. The tornado downed power lines, damaged screen enclosures, and brought down a few trees and branches in the community. Damaging winds will be the primary risk this week as storms move down the state, but any storm could produce heavy rain and frequent lightning in some locations, and that's according to the Florida Public Emergency Network. The National Weather Service in Jacksonville warned residents isolated severe storms are in the forecast for today, especially for areas east of Interstate 75. Strong to isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible across the region this afternoon and evening ahead of the front coming through. Near record lows and frost are possible at inland locations Wednesday night. The National Weather Service in Tallahassee said this week's cold front, the first real cold front of the season, will bring minimum temperatures to well below normal. Many locations are poised to be ahead of the schedule by over a month on 40-degree temperatures, as the average first date is late November. The National Weather Service in Melbourne said strong to marginally severe storms will be possible this afternoon for east central Florida. Storms could bring heavy rainfall, wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, 1-inch hail, and frequent lightning. Behind the front, though, drier and cooler air are expected for southwest Florida. The front is expected to reach all the way to Miami by Tuesday or Wednesday, which is forecast to start the week with muggy and stormy conditions. So far, right on the nose. The front will bring the coolest temperatures the area has seen in 6 months, according to the National Weather Service in Miami. So there you go, man. We're getting it. Fake fall is back, baby. Ready. I'm ready. Pumpkin spice everything, y'all. Just checking out the comments here over on Facebook. Mike, Amy. Thank you guys for tuning in there. Good morning to you. Amy says that gray beers rock. And thank you, Amy. Thank you. I always teeter back and forth, you guys. I always, what keeps me from dyeing my hair is I have on my face particularly, but my scalp too, I have a bad reaction to the Just for Men hair dye, and I've not tried anything else because I have a limited desire to do it in the first place. So like that's the product I know and I get, but if I do it, I have to take an allergy pill. I have to take like a Claritin because like the day before, and then I'll dye the hair and the hair on my head as well, and it limits the reaction. But if I don't do that, I get like crazy itch all on my face and my head, and to the point where it's almost unbearable. It looks good, but it's a lot. So that kind of keeps me on the other side of the fence of dyeing my hair. At any rate, but Amy, thank you. Gray beards are pretty cool, and I do often go back and forth between growing my hair longer and getting the little twisty two on my mustache and all that stuff. And I like the way that it looks, but I hate dealing with it. I hate having to like do anything to it or wax the mustache. I hate trying to eat anything on earth that isn't bite size on a fork. Like I love chicken wings, and man, you can't eat chicken wings without destroying your facial hair. So I keep it just this way for most of the time, but maybe I'll start growing it out for the cool season, the cooler temperatures coming through. But thank you guys for tuning in over there. Oh, what else? Here's some other crazy stuff going on in Port St. Lucie. Local health officials are advising people to avoid contact with bats. The fact that this has to be written and published for the world to see is mind-boggling to me. But here we are with the news saying, don't fuck with bats. There we go. That's all this needed to say. One headline, no story attached to it. Don't fuck with bats. The advisory followed a bat-related situation, that's in quotes, Friday at the landings in Tradition, according to a new release from the Florida Department of Health in St. Lucie County. Officials were providing treatment for the risk of rabies to exposed individuals and working with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. No further information was available, but you could probably imagine what went down. Let me set the scene. You have an idiot here, and then you have a bat here, and in some way, probably a broomstick, I imagine, would be involved with this as well. the swatting of the bat attacking. Hilarity ensues. I hope that person's okay. I hope they're not rabid now. But don't mess with bats. Call somebody. Anyway, if you're offended because it was you, or if you or someone you know has been exposed to a bat through accidental contact, a bite or a scratch, you can call 772-462-3883 from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or 772-462-3800 after hours. It doesn't say who you're calling. I imagine it's hopefully not Batman. An appropriate treatment through post-exposure vaccination started soon after exposure protects people from the risk of rabies, according to the news release. The only preventative treatment for human exposure to rabies is rabies-specific immunoglobulin and rabies immunization. Things that most people probably do not need unless you work directly with wildlife or bats. Rabies is present in the wild animal population, and people should avoid contact with wildlife. So the next few things I'm going to read to you are absolute no-brainers. You could literally have no brain in your head, and in your inner instinct, the lizard brain that's attached to the top of your spinal cord, would tell you, do not do these things. But I'm going to read it because that's what we do here. We inebriate and educate. So the local officials gave the following precautions. Here we go. Do not handle, feed, or unintentionally attract wild animals with open garbage cans or litter. Call your local animal control agency to remove any stray animals from your neighborhood. Never adopt wild animals or bring them into your home. Keep rabies vaccinations up to date for all pets. That's a good one. That's a good one to know, because I don't know if a lot of people do that. Or maybe a lot of people do, but some people may not be up to date on that. But be sure to do that. Keep your pets under control. Keep your pets, with that sentiment in mind, keep your pets under direct supervision so they don't come in contact with wild animals. Like, I don't know, put them on a leash. Don't let them run up on your property while you're walking them down the street or your neighbor's property. And back to bats. Prevent bats from entering living quarters or occupied spaces in homes. Don't let them in. Schools and other similar areas where they might come in contact with people and pets. Don't let the bats in. Don't let the bats in. I have to say, I appreciate the article, but wow, the fact that we need it is, I should put some booze in this coffee this morning, man. Lord. Philip said, I've learned to not say how stupid can you be, because it seems to be taken as a challenge. And I will second that. Do not challenge the idiots. They will surprise you. They will step up to the plate. Paul said, who let the bats out? Who? Yeah, anyway, we have to move on, because I need to find a story that isn't about an idiot. Oh, here's another fun one for big kids like me. I thought Jordan would appreciate this story as well. Apparently, Toys R Us pop-ups are appearing at select Macy's stores for the holiday shopping season. If you are like me and had a massive hit to your childhood when most Toys R Us or all Toys R Us brick-and-mortar stores boarded up over the last few years, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit, my kid heart. And because Toys R Us was the bomb. It was already enough when KB Toys in the malls closed up shop. but when Toys R Us went under, it was a terrible time. I remember when they boarded up our Toys R Us here in Port St. Lucie, and sad day. But the new owners of the once popular kids entertainment retail chain Toys R Us are trying something new. Keep the troubled brand in operation. Toys R Us pop-up locations will be featured in select Macy's stores around the U.S. this holiday shopping season. WHP Global, the latest owner of Toys R Us, announced a partnership with Macy's in the summer of 2021. Locations will take up anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 square feet at select Macy's locations, and the company plans to launch 451 pop-up operations. A larger reopening for the locations was held on October 15th, just over the weekend. The pop-ups will be featured in Macy's locations, including the company's flagship location in Herald Square in New York City. The only places so far that won't feature the pop-ups are Alaska, Arkansas, Iowa, Mississippi, Wyoming, and Nebraska, according to Fox Business. Atlanta, Honolulu, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, San Francisco, and Miami will have the largest locations, according to reports. Pop-up locations will feature colorful features and hands-on demonstration tables. So for those of you that want a little nostalgia, and we've talked about this on this show before, nostalgia factor is a huge thing for our generation, I imagine, and others. But Toys R Us is probably a huge nostalgia boost. So get to check it out and see. Maybe we'll get one. Maybe we'll get it in our Macy's here at the Treasure Coast Square Mall, which is a literal shell of what it used to be. But we'll see. We'll see. Toys R Us, back at it. Some sad news here. Astronaut James McDivitt, the Apollo 9 commander, has passed away at 93 years old. He, of course, as mentioned, commanded the Apollo 9 mission, testing the first complete set of equipment to go to the moon. He was also the commander of the 1965's Gemini 4 mission, where his best friend and colleague Ed White made the first U.S. spacewalk. Photographs of White during the spacewalk became iconic images. He passed on a chance to land on the moon and instead became the space agency's program manager for 5 Apollo missions after the Apollo 11 landing. He died Thursday in Tucson, Arizona, according to NASA. 93. Sail on, James McDivitt. Historic. What else is going on? Maybe we'll take a music break. When we come back, we got some music news. Mariah Carey's time to shine is just around the corner, so we'll talk about her wild announcements that she's making. And the members of BTS, the K-pop sensation, they got some news as well. We're going to be taking a little mandatory hiatus. I'll tell you all about it when we come back. Here's one from Dave Balin and the Bailouts. Thanks for joining me here on Jams and Coffee in the Morning. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If I could just get a minute of your time, baby, I can tell you a thing or two. But if you want to spend a little more time, baby, I can show you what I want to do. Now if your man can't keep his distraction, if your friends can't cut you some action, come on down to the thing called attraction. Satisfactory. If you stand still, the floor will start moving, and your feet will start busting to a groove, and I'm holding like a locomotion as you swing your hips in a circular motion. And you know what everybody is feeling You can hear them barking and squealing. They're so high, they're dancing on the ceiling. It's satisfactory. Time, baby, I can tell you what I wanna do. But if you want to spend a little more time with me, I can show you a thing or two. Now if your man can't kick his distractions, if your friends can't cut you some action, get your ass down to the main attraction. It's satisfactory.
The Jams and Coffee Morning Show.
You sure are. Welcome back to the show. That was Dave Balin and the Bailouts. Dave he came out and jammed with me a little bit on Friday night at the Island Beach Bar in Fort Pierce. He's a great harmonica player. My goodness. Really, really good. And a cool dude to boot. So, Dave Balin. Before we get into the stories, man, you know, you guys, I discovered a tool in my kitchen, clearly belonging to Jordan, but it froths. It's a little like wand, and it froths the milk or the cream for your coffee. And so I don't know if it makes me bougie or whatever the kids say these days, but I really like it. I put my half and half in there and a little sugar packet, and I froth it up, and then I pour in the coffee. And it gives me this nice foam on the top. So the first sip, and all the sips are great, but the first sip, it's like that cold cream, and then the hot coffee hits. I don't know. I'm clearly spoiled. I'm clearly spoiled. But this is a good cup of coffee. Still drinking the Death Wish coffee, the world's strongest coffee, self-proclaimed world's strongest coffee. It's good. It's good. I got to get rid of the bag before it goes bad. Thank you for joining me here on Jams and Coffee in the mornings, talking about coffee on Jams and Coffee. Philip said, "Don't spill it." I need a. It's only when I get really excited about a story and my hands start going like this, and I'm whatever Italian I have in my jeans comes out, and knocks stuff over all over the place. I'll try not to spill it, Philip. I'll try not to spill it today. Oh, I am watching the chats and comments mostly. So feel free to chime in if the spirit moves you. I also have the hotline open at 772-888-1596. If there's anything you got to get off your chest or you want to talk through, quite happy to do that. Just follow the prompts and it'll get you on the air with me. Some music news here. Mariah Carey has seemingly given the fans the go-ahead to start thinking about Christmas. That's right, the so-called Queen of Christmas took to Twitter to tease something festive and ominously captioned it, "It's almost time, ... She also shared a photo of her bathtub and an embossed bath mat embedded with her initials. But it's the curious red robe draping off the steps that has fans humming with excitement. Mariah Carey has she followed up with a video of her in her bubble bath with her back turned to the camera along with the word, but ... She's wagging a finger as the sound of a clock ticks in the background. Then she finished the post-trilogy with a cheeky video of her splashing in her bubble bath alongside the caption, "Not yet." In the video, she joyfully responded with "not yet" to a child asking if they can decorate the tree and listened to her smash hit "All I Want for Christmas Is You." Unfortunately, that's all we have so far from Mariah regarding the holidays. Considering we haven't even celebrated Halloween yet, she might be saving up for a big announcement once we get closer to Christmas. Still, this is causing fans to celebrate that the self-professed Queen of Christmas is thawing, quote-unquote. Other Mariah news, she has her children's book, The Christmas Princess, coming out in a few weeks. In the book, which features little Mariah, is going to hit the shelves on November 1st. So if you're a Mariah Carey fan and you love all things Mariah, check that out. Dropping at the beginning of the month. So here, the BTS may not be familiar to some of you, but they are probably one of the biggest music groups in the world right now. And that's saying a lot. You know, K-pop has made a real resurgence over the last, I would probably say, decade. And they put out really great pop music. And BTS, no exception, and definitely frontrunners in the K-pop world. But they are going to take a bit of a hiatus because they have to go and serve in the army. Despite various proposals that would have allowed the members of BTS to avoid South Korea's mandatory military service, it appears that ultimately their fans will have to allow their boys to serve in the actual army. They call their fans their army, by the way. In a statement released on Twitter, the group's label, Big Hit, announced that all 7 members of BTS will enlist in the military, with the first one up being Jin. He'll be releasing solo material at the end of this month and then initiate the process of enlistment. The group's label said that the rest of BTS, RM, J-Hope, Suga, Jimin, V, and Jungkook will then subsequently enlist based on their own individual plans, which means they won't be able to perform with their full lineup until 2025. Big Hit Music is focused to the milestone moment when it would be possible to respect the needs of the country and for these healthy young men to serve with their countrymen. And that's now, the statement said in part. It added, the members of BTS are honored to serve. As Billboard notes, in South Korea, all able-bodied male citizens must spend at least 18 months in the armed forces. The draft usually starts at 18, but K-pop entertainers can postpone their service until the age of 30. Jin turns 30 in December. The youngest member, Jungkook, is 25. Over the weekend, BTS performed in South Korean city of Busan in their role as ambassadors for that city's bid to host the World Expo in 2030. The BTS in Busan concert was attended by about 50,000 people, with 49 million more watching online. Billboard reports that at the concert, J-Hope told fans the group was in a stage where we need your trust. And so I wish the boys the best of luck. They really do put out catchy tunes if you are into pop music at all. I know some people are purists and can't get behind the new pop wave that's coming through, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine. They put out some pretty good stuff, and they're actually very good entertainers. So, and overall seem like really good kids. So they're going to go and serve their country and then get back to it over the next couple of years. So, BTS. Paul said today's podcast is related to the Mariah Carey story. Yeah, that's I was going to get to my shameless plugs, but I'll give you one now. Drums and Rums podcast, Paul Robertson hosting. I'm so glad that you're back to it, man. I feel like it's been a couple of weeks where I haven't really had anything to report because Paul's been out saving the world. Literally. But he's back. So there's new podcast dropping tonight or today. And I guess it has to do with the Mariah Carey story. So looking forward to that. Check it out. drumsandrums.com, or you can find the link for that at jncpodcast.com. Or you can check out Paul's socials. And he'll get you there as well. What else is going on out there? We do have some celebrity birthdays. Actor and singer Zac Efron turning 35 years old today. He, of course, rose to fame for playing Troy Bolton in High School Musical and won a Bravo Auto Award in 2010 for Best Male Television Star. He's also played lead roles in the movie Hairspray, Baywatch, Neighbors, and The Greatest Showman. Great! That was a good flick. We talked about it. Hugh Jackman's birthday was just a couple of days ago. I thought the movie was really good. Some of the musical scenes were not my vibe. I thought they were a little cheesy. But the film was actually really well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit. In 2019, he starred as Ted Bundy in the biopic Extremely Wicked and Shockingly Evil and Vile. I don't remember that. I don't know if I saw that. Oh, there you go. Neo is turning 43, R&B singer, who won the Hal David Starlight Award from the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2012. His third album, Year of the Gentleman, was nominated for a 2009 Grammy Award, and his debut album, In My Own Words, included the song So Sick, which became a #1 hit on the U.S. Billboard 200. Neo. He's got some good tunes, too. 43. Woo! Turning 62 years old today. Younger than I thought. But, of course, bodybuilder and actor Jean-Claude Van Damme, turning 62. Of course, he's been in flicks like Kickboxer, Cyborg, and Bloodsport. He also appeared in Universal Soldier, Sudden Death, and The Expendables 2 most recently, or more recently, rather. And I enjoyed his performance in Time Cop. You guys remember that stupid flick? It was good, though. And yeah, that's our celebrity birthdays. How's about that? Happy birthday, celebrities. Wonderful. I do have, as promised, a spooky top 10 for you today. And I'm gonna tell you, this is a proper spooky one. I know I've had a couple where they were more like morbid than spooky, but this one's really spooky. So bear with me here. From the common saying of the phrase "break a leg" to the absolute refusal to mention a certain play involving certain witches and certain Scottish kings, the folk are certainly superstitious folk. Then it should come as no surprise that almost every live performance theater has a resident ghost. Haunted hotels and spectral cemeteries often have a place center stage when it comes to the ghost hunting spotlight, but for this list of 10 allegedly haunted theaters from around the world, it's time for the ghosts of actors and stagehands to finally come out of the wings. In today's JNC Top 10, Spooky Top 10. All right, here we go. First on our list here, built in 1935, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival isn't just one stage, it's a collection of 3 different performance spaces that the Oregon Shakespeare Festival uses from February to October to put on around 11 plays a year. Though named after the bard himself, the company has put on more than just Shakespearean productions since 1960. However, one Elizabethan thespian named Charles Lofton has been itching to perform his rendition of King Lear even long after his tragic death in 1963. Born in Scarborough, England in 1899, Lofton became an actor at the age of 27, debuting on stage in the West End of London. Throughout the next 30 years, he would perform in Broadway shows and star in films, but it wasn't until 1961 that he would be able to fulfill his lifelong dream of playing King Lear in the Shakespearean play of the same name, being put on at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. He would also be starring as the comedic phony knight Falstaff in The Merry Wives of Windsor. Though sadly in 1963, his dream would be snuffed out when he passed away from pancreatic cancer before being able to perform. Or so people thought. The play, Merry Wives of Windsor, would go on as planned, but many actors would claim to hear the disembodied deep laughter of a Falstaff impersonator. Some even claimed to see a mysterious man dressed in the character's garb backstage, even claiming the mysterious new performer looked just like Charles Lofton. The haunting wouldn't end there, though. During King Lear, actors would claim to hear another disembodied voice, almost in anguish. Many would also claim to see Lofton spontaneously appear in the audience during Lear's death scene. To this day, people claim to see the spirit of Lofton forlorningly bemoaning his lost opportunity to play his dream role. He's also said to be particularly active and noisy during productions of King Lear. So there you go. Charles Lofton, still hanging around. Number 9 on our list. Some theaters have a rich history of performances lasting longer than a century, but sadly, some fail to stand the test of time and fall into ruin. Such is the case with the Variety Theater in Cleveland, Ohio, which opened back in 1927, putting on mostly vaudeville-style variety shows and La Ziegfeld's Follies. Throughout the years, though, the gorgeous-looking theater would start screening films and even host concerts. However, one such concert, performed by the metal band Motorhead back in 1984, would prove to spell the building's doom. At a noise level of 130 decibels, Motorhead would actually break the world record that year with the loudest concert in the world. Though this came at a cost. Plaster rained down from the ceiling as noise complaints and safety concerns would pour in from across the neighborhood. In 1986, the theater would close down for good, and still, unrenovated, slowly morphed into an urban explorer's paradise. Though abandoned, the building would not remain silent. Ghost tour leader Chuck Grove claims that 19 different spirits haunt the abandoned stage. Though the space is closed to the public, Grove claims to see lights flash on and off and hear disembodied voices coming from backstage, almost sounding like the tech crew working. Also claim that the shadow of a man can be seen staring from the upper balcony with piercing red eyes. Dun, dun. That's right. Number 8 on the list. Here's one from Michigan. Built in 1929, the Kalamazoo Civic Theater is one of the most prolific buildings in the Great Lakes State's city of Kalamazoo. The company had been delighting its audiences with plays and musicals for more than 90 years. The one audience member may be more or less eternally bound to the building. Her name is Thelma, and allegedly she passed away after tragically falling to her death from the upper balcony of the main theater, or so the legend goes. In truth, her name and backstory are only fabrications created by students attending the theater's summer camp. Despite that, there is definitely something poltergeist adjacent going on at the Civic, or so people claim. Activity mostly involves ghostly piano playing or singing in an otherwise empty building, or the odd prop hidden in inexplicable locations. Some sightings of Thelma take a more dramatic tone. During the company's production of Singin' in the Rain in the 1990s, actor Janet Gover claims that some unexplainable force was attempting to lift her hat off of her head during a live show, a hat that was tightly pinned to her hair. She also claims to have seen the image of a woman in a black coat on a monitor standing on stage when nobody was actually in the space. Another anecdote involves the prop master working backstage during the off-season. She spotted an older-looking woman in a black coat and a poofy black hat at a point where nobody should have been backstage. The prop master asked the woman, "Oh, this is the backstage. Are you lost?" To which the older woman responded, "Oh, no, I know exactly where I am," before disappearing before the prop master's very eyes. Spooky, 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 spooky. Number 7 on our list. The first international entry on this list admittedly doesn't take place too far from the USA. However, one would definitely find this theater to be closer to Alaska than the continental United States. Dawson City, located in the Yukon in western Canada, was a town that sprung up overnight due to the Yukon Gold Rush. The Palace Grand Theater, built in 1899, resulted from the rapid settlement of European settlers in the area. But by the time it was open, the Gold Rush fever had died down, and the theater would draw an audience based on its reputation alone, usually with follies-styled shows affectionately referred to as the Good Time Girls. One of the alleged ghosts of the Palace Grand Theater is none other than its very own founder, Arizona Charlie Meadows. Arizona Charlie was a showman of the same caliber as Buffalo Bill. And though he would pass away in the state he was named for, it's claimed that his ghost still haunts the Yukon. Aside from the classic ghost fare, lights turning on and off after hours and the sound of loud footsteps and cold spots, yada, 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 people report the scent of roses lingering in Charlie Meadows' box. In addition, Emily Farrell, a stage manager, reported seeing in the upper balcony one night, watching a concert she was working on, when a performer asked her who the man standing next to her was. He was wearing an old-fashioned jacket and hat. Farrell swears that there was no one else in the balcony next to her and never saw anyone else during the entire show. Another spirit said to haunt the theater is a known performer as Klondike Kate, one of the most prolific good time girls in Dawson City. Kate dressed as a man to cross the border into Canada and attempt to make a fortune in the Gold Rush City. She married 3 times and garnered a beloved reputation among the whole town before passing away in 1956. Not for naught, her former dressing room also smells of roses, but aside from that, her red-headed spirit is claimed to roam backstage, perhaps more than the specter of Arizona Charlie. Spooky, spooky, spooky. Number 6. In stark contrast to the cold north of the Yukon, this next theater, La Petite Théâtre du Vieux Carré. Forgive my French. It's located in the warm Gulf Coast city of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana. The theater company was founded in 1916. The current building was built in 1922. It's produced shows ever since. New Orleans is no stranger to ghosts, however, and one would be hard-pressed to call La Petite an exception. Many deaths have occurred on the property, such as an actress tragically losing her footing from a high catwalk, to a reluctant bride. The latter was to be married at the property before jumping to her death from an outdoor balcony. Both spirits have reportedly been sighted, namely the tragic bride and the reflections of fountains. There are also other spirits on the property, an old crotchety theater manager who allegedly died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and who had a tendency to slam doors and make props disappear. In addition, a specter known only as Caroline, who should an actor ask for her blessing, returns the props that the manager steals. How about that? What a nice ghost. However, perhaps the strangest ghost on the property is the nameless phantom of a nun who once slapped a crew member in the face, leaving a visible mark. The odd thing about that, though, is that the area has stark little history involving any nunneries. Number 5. In Beijing, China, there's an opera house known as the Wanan Opera House, or simply the Wanong Guild Hall. We're just going to call that the Guild Hall. Built in 1807, Guild Hall is known for one of the four great theaters of Beijing, though it would moonlight as housing for poor victims of World War II. It also, as some claim, incredibly haunted, or it is incredibly haunted. According to some legends, the philanthropist that renovated the Guild Hall neglected to discover that the new renovations would be built on an ancient cemetery. And there we go. That's how it starts. Because of this, people often report the sounds of wailing and screaming come from the theater's courtyard, even though the space is completely devoid of people. Part of the legend also claims that if someone were to throw stones from within the courtyard, a disembodied voice would immediately scold the vandal, but no apparition would manifest to make good on its threats. Legend also states that a janitor hired at the facility was so plagued by leprosy that it caused the ghosts to appear in voice only, for they'd be too afraid to appear physically. Nevertheless, the opera house is used to this day both as a functioning place for Chinese opera and a museum for Chinese opera in general. Number 4. This entry involves quite a bit of a swim from the previous entry. In the capital of New Zealand, Wellington, lies the St. James Theatre, erected in 1912 and designed by the architect Henry Eli White. This theater was actually the second built in its space, the first being primarily a small house used for pantomime shows and variety acts. However, this new theater would be large enough to house 650 guests and put on both full plays and silent films. The long history spanning almost a century, the odd period of decline and restoration, it's easy to imagine that this New Zealand theater would be a prime candidate for a haunting. The leading spirit said to haunt the wings of this theater is named Yuri. According to legend, Yuri was a Russian performer who tragically fell from the flies. Now, it's unknown if this story is true or not, as there isn't a date given for the tragedy. Others say that he was maliciously pushed by a jealous fellow actor named Pasha. Either way, it's claimed that the lights will come on after hours while maintenance finishes working. One employee was even pushed by an unseen force while holding his son, just as a steel beam was about to drop and hit his head. Oh, look, Yuri is saving people. Besides Yuri, people have also heard an odd, disembodied, wailing woman. One such observer being the legendary director Peter Jackson, an American actor by the name of Stan Andrews, and some claim an entire boys' choir singing. Yeah. Number 3 on our list this morning. And perhaps one of the most prolific West End theaters is the Theatre Royal on Drury Lane, most often referred to simply as Drury Lane. It's the second oldest standing building on this list so far, in that the current building, known as Drury Lane, was built in 1812. This rendition of the Theatre Royal is, in fact, the fourth of its name, with the first having a history stretching back to 1663. The hauntings of Drury Lane involve Victorian-clad ghosts and other historical figures as well. By far the most prolific lingering spirit would be that of the famous clown Joseph Grimaldi. as well as specter referred to only as the Man in Gray, a figure donning a tricorn and a powdered wig, along with the other 18th century garb, who may have had his bones exhumed in the 1800s after a hidden wall was discovered by architects. What was he doing in there? These apparitions appear in full quite often to the backstage actors, with it being claimed that the ghost of Grimaldi sometimes kicks and pulls on the hair of actors from beyond the veil. More often than not, he's described as amiable. It's also claimed that the spirit of Dan Leno, a pantomime clown who often dressed as a woman for his acts, is spotted in costume, often leaving the scent of lavender behind. 2 more on our list here. This one's in New York. Any haunted theater list would be woefully incomplete without an entry from a theater on Broadway. The New Amsterdam Theater has a rich history of highly praised theatrical productions, starting its legacy in the year 1902. The space was used for many Shakespearean productions as well as many early musical comedies, but perhaps the production that serves as the genesis of the New Amsterdam's haunting would be none other than Ziegfeld's Follies. The Follies were a popular type of show involving chorus girls performing musical numbers in lavish, complicated costumes, and Ziegfeld's Follies, which ran from 1913 to 1927, were perhaps the most popular. It's where the character Olive Thomas comes in. Thomas was a performer in the famous Follies who tragically overdosed on mercury bichloride in the year of 1920 and has, as some claim, haunted the New Amsterdam ever since. It didn't take long for Olive Thomas to begin her haunting, with some performers seeing her as early as the 20s themselves. Even people who knew Thomas personally would see her spirit and naturally become very, very confused. Thomas is often seen as a brunette woman dressed in a white dress with a similarly white sash, carrying a bottle of pills. She treads across the stage, sometimes speaking to no one in particular, and often disappears into walls or travels up a non-existent stairway. She's also sighted often in the hidden trapdoor beneath the stage. She has a tendency, allegedly, to appear in the dressing rooms in a green beaded dress, even occasionally flirting with actors on the odd occasion. Spooky, 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 spooky. And finally, our last entry here on today's spooky JNC Top 10, Haunted Theaters. This one is from The Great White Way, and it rounds out this list. David Belasco was a director, producer, and playwright, and perhaps the ghostly spirit most adamant about spending the rest of his life, well, afterlife, in the place that he loved more than anything, the theater. The Belasco Theater, then known as the Stuyvesant Theater, when Belasco was alive to manage it, was built in 1906 and has been a mainstay on Broadway to this day. David Belasco, also known as the Bishop of Broadway, worked at his new theater, as well as others, until his passing in 1931. Perhaps through sheer passion for the theater, the alleged ghost of Belasco has often been spotted in full clarity without any transparency or fading in and out of existence. It is especially easy to identify him, for the Bishop of Broadway often unironically wore a priest's habit, that Belasco's spirit has kept going. The habit. He would often be spotted by actors watching the show from the balcony, and on some occasions a man in a priestly garb would appear backstage and shake the hands of actors, congratulating them for their performance. Other haunted happenings include a random scent of cigar smoke seemingly coming from nowhere, along with the sound of disembodied laughter, and occasionally the sound of a full party going on in Belasco's old, locked-off penthouse suite. The bishop isn't alone in the theater of his namesake either. Allegedly, the spirit of a blue lady appears in a frosty mist from time to time, trapezing about backstage or in the wings. But by and large, David Belasco is the most reported ghost in any theater by far, with sightings of him even taking place in the 2010s. So there you go. And speaking of hauntings, And speaking of cigar smoke coming out of nowhere, has anybody had that experience? I would say I am either just not perceptive or receptive to supernatural goings-ons, I suppose. It's not that I don't believe in it. It's not that I don't actively seek it out. But some strange things do occur, and I embrace them. I certainly am not afraid most of the times that I experience it. But the one that's recurring the most for me is I will sometimes, and sometimes it goes years, but sometimes I will, in a place where it shouldn't be, will smell cigarette smoke. Sometimes here, it's happened, and just thinking about it, it happened right here, sitting in this chair, maybe a week or two ago, and it's always this overwhelming sense that it's my grandfather, right? So he was a chain smoker until the day he died, and he always smoked his Virginia Slims, mostly because my grandmother smoked Virginia Slims, so he got on board with that. But it, obviously a very distinct cigarette smell. But anytime it happens, sometimes it would happen sitting in my car, and I don't smoke, so it's unusual, but I'll be sitting in my car with the air conditioner on, and I always use recirculate, so it's not like it's coming in from outside, and I just get this overwhelming feeling that it's my grandfather. We were very tight. We had a very good, very strong relationship and bond. He was an incredible father figure to me and grandfather figure, so a story for another time. But I always get that overwhelming sense that it's him there. And it happened here, just here in this room. And, and like I said, it never freaks me out. It's always very comforting. It's always like somebody's watching over me. And, but have any of you had similar experiences like that? Where, a family member that you knew, smelt a certain way, and you occasionally just out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever catch that scent, and you get that feeling that they're hanging with you. It's crazy. But I'd love to hear about that if you've had that too. The only other crazy things that I have is sometimes my mother, rest her soul, in my dreams would call out my name. And it's in a phenomenon called exploding head syndrome. In fact, I looked it up because it's so loud that it wakes me up out of a dead sleep to the point where I think I look and see if Jordan is awake, if she's been awoken. Was it a real sound? Did somebody really yell? And every time, obviously, it's just been in my head. So there's that. When we first moved into this house, we had an issue with some lights changing color. We have plenty of LED lights around that change color, and we had a strip on the television in our living room, and it would just randomly, we'd change it to one color, and it would randomly change to a different color for no reason. I would just turn around, and it would be a different color, and I was like, you know what? I fully embrace this, and for the longest time, I left it on that color. I was like, no worries. You want it yellow? It'll be yellow. We've not had any problems ever since. Now I could change it to whatever I want. But spooky stuff, man. Like I said, I don't deny it, and I'm not a skeptic per se, but I just am not. Some people have a good supernatural antenna built in, and I just or attract those types of experiences. I'm not one of them, but I do enjoy the stories, and I enjoy when it happens to me. It's when you have personal stories, it makes everything else believable. That's all I have to say about that. I got just a couple of shameless plugs here for you today before I send you on your way. Please check out the Jams and Cocktails podcast tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, live. We're hanging with Johnny Ringo from the Code Rum Company and trop rock award-winning trop rocker John McDonald. We're debuting his new music video entitled Code Rum. The song is called Code Rum, so it's a very nice mix there. There's some familiar faces in the pirate world. Captain Mick Dagger makes an appearance in that video from the Misfit Pirates and other various pirates from that troop. And some other familiar faces, including Johnny Ringo, making an appearance in that video as well. So don't miss it. It's the world premiere. We're doing it on the Jams and Cocktails podcast, so it should be a pretty good episode. We'll probably try to squeeze a song or two out of John McDonald, if he's gracious enough to give us a song or two. So it's going to be a good time. We're also going to be talking about our Party in Paradise cruise coming up in January, featuring John McDonald and Grammy award-winning songwriter and singer-songwriter Jesse Rice. He'll be on that cruise as well. Any of you familiar with the trop rock world would know Jesse and John. So check out the show on Wednesday. I'll be blasting about it for the next couple of days, so you won't want to miss it. Check out JNC Radio, where this show is being broadcast right now. You can find it on jncpodcast.com. We're spinning great music all day long. You can stream it right from our website, or you can get the LIVE365 Radio App for nothing. It's completely free. Get it right from the App Store. Get in there, search for JNC Radio, and add us to your favorites. Nothing to sign up for, nothing to connect. You don't have to connect it to your Facebook. None of that crap. You just download it, turn it on, and it's ready to go. As mentioned before, check out the Drums and Rums podcast. New episode dropping today. Paul is a huge supporter of all the things that we do and vice versa. So please check out our good friend Paul's podcast offerings and his live streams on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., the biggest happy hour in a half hour. And, of course, check out our friends at Code Rum and Hop Life Brewing in Port St. Lucie and the Sneaky Tiki in downtown Stewart. Support those who support us and to support local whenever you can. It's super important. And that, I believe, friends, does it for me this morning. I do appreciate you hanging out with me each and every morning. And I'll be here again tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Until then, take care of yourselves and be kind to one another. Broadcasting live from the legendary JNC Lounge, I'm Brad Brock. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
Tune in again tomorrow morning for the latest local buzz, national headlines, music news, and more on JNC in the Morning, right here on Facebook and YouTube.